Hello, I'm Steve Carroll and welcome to the video tutorial on the Compass Sheet Rolling Cashflow Forecast. This forecast is really useful when you need a tool that you keep adding on to each period rather than just a one-off exercise. It's designed to do sort of between 12 and 16 periods, either on a weekly or a monthly basis. Probably expect most people to use it on a weekly basis. What you can do is add in actuals and just keep rolling on, why it's called a rolling, because you just keep adding a week on to the end of it each time and just keep rolling it forward. So you've always got those number of weeks ahead of you each time. So yeah, let's get on and have a look at it. So what we have is the first page here where we put in your company name, put in there, frequency, we've got a choice here between the weekly or monthly, which is a drop down switch, weekly or monthly. Once you've selected here, you can't go back, so you can't do 6 weeks and then decide you want to do it monthly. So decide at the outset whether it's weekly or monthly that you're doing. And then the start date. Ideally, I'd recommend you actually have the start date a bit before today, so you can put 1 or 2 weeks actuals or a month's worth of actuals in the forecast to just make sure you're picking everything up and get the right headings in for your income and outgoings within there. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. You can start it from next week, next month, or from today. But by putting some actuals in there from, say, last week or the last couple of weeks, it does make sure you pick everything up and get things in the right sort of format and get a flavour for it. So, but let's, for example, just put in a start date of the 15th of the 2nd, and we're going to do it on a weekly basis. If you do it on a monthly, if you look there, it calculates the starting period from the 1st of Feb to the 28th of Feb. If you do it on a weekly, it's doing from the 15th to the 21st. And you put an opening bank balance in. So as of the 15th of Feb, we're going to assume we've got £1,000 in there. That's the forecast setup at the basic level. Then go on to the next tab, which is the estimates. First thing we do here is put in the periods. So this row in row 6, we're using the drop down, and because we've put the start date of the 15th, that populates this for us. And pick the next one is the 22nd. And because the 15th, it knows at the time I'm entering this, it's in the past. It's creating it as done. I'm doing this on the 1st of March, so it's recognizing this as current. And then because the 8th of March is in the future, it's looking at it as forecast. So it's picking up from the date that you're actually inputting this, which is done, and in the past, which is current, and which is forecast. And blue is always the newest or the latest date that's in there. So that's how you set up the dates, and the way this goes is you fill all these in. The reason why it's a drop down here is once you've reached the end, you roll around to the beginning again, and you can drop those down, and it'll fill it in with the latest ones. And this is what it means by it's a rolling forecast. So you're continuously rolling around here. I'll show you a completed one at the end to see what that looks like. But that's the rolling one. If you'd have started on the intro sheet with the start date of the 1st of March, this would have been showing as current and all these as forecasts. So money in, this is where you're going to get your receipts from. So we're going to have customer 1, customer 2, etc. Normally you'd have customers, you might have 4 or 5 main customers and then an other to pick up other customers. Other receipts you might have in here is receipts in from the furlough, any loans coming in, any other types of receipts. So you can, this is free form text, you can type anything in here. Same with money going out. You might have your names of your suppliers. Supplier 1, whatever the names of your suppliers are in here. Give them the names, and then you might have an other to cover the kind of smaller ones. Weekly wages might be in there, your monthly wages. Any headings you have in here, and this is where I mentioned at the beginning about putting some actuals in here, just to be picking things up. VAT, PAYE, you know, any headings that you have in here, you've got to, you know, a decent number of blanks in here to put in your headings, and what you're putting in for each of those is amounts. So for customer 1 for that week, you might be expecting £2,000 in there, £1,550 in for customer 2. So you're filling all these in for your money you're expecting in and out. Where you're putting actuals in, you can put those in there for the duns. Complete all of these will give you a total expected income for each week. Fill the amounts for the outgoings, add all those up. That can give a total for the expenses. If you remember, we put an opening balance, expected opening balance of £1,000. So opening balance of £1,000 plus 2,000 in, less 3,000 out, gives a closing balance of 0. So you're filling all those in for each week. Really nice feature in this one that I like is with direct debits. So where you've got the same amounts going out on a regular basis. So it might be your rent goes out every month for the same amount, or you might have leasing payments. Nice feature in here so that you don't have to type that in every week or every month, and it also makes sure you don't forget it. So you've got rent. Where these come up with yellow means it's asking for an input. So the rent might be £1,000. You've got a drop down box here. So the rent might be, so you've got weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually or annually. So rent is monthly. You see the other yellow box here. So our rent goes out, let's say it's the last day of the month. So you either pick the day of the month, but because February has 28 days, obviously, you know, March 31, if we pick the last day of the month, this will feed £1,000 in on the last day of the month. So if we go to our cash flow estimates, reoccurring direct debits, week ending the 28th of Feb has got £1,000 in. Because the 31st of the March falls in that week, that has £1,000 in. If we pick, if we paid a lease that had £200, but that was every week, and it went out every Monday, on here, it'd pull out, there's £200 every Monday that went out, and it'd populate that. This is a really time-saving feature on it, and make sure that nothing gets missed off your cash flow. Where you have direct debits that vary each period, common example is electricity that might vary every month. You wouldn't put that in here because this only picks up where it's the same amount each month. That you would put in here and put in the appropriate week or month, and put in where it varies because it's a variable amount. So if it goes out on the first or the first week of every period, this month it might be £1,000. You might be expecting it to be up slightly next, beginning of the next period, for instance. So you're building all those up. Those then feed through into your opening and closing balances with the movement. What you can then do after you've filled those in is put your actual balances in. So you're then comparing about what your actual forecast's like compared to your your actual balances compared to your forecasts. See how accurate your forecasts have been. So when you're looking on a report, green line is an actual, and it's using that against the forecast balance. Because I've only put a few figures in here, we've not got the full week's data in. We'll just move on to that onto a completed one. But it shows the opening balance for each week based on the actuals, and as you update the actuals, that sort of extrapolates across with your forecasts. It's looking at how much you're expecting in and out each week and what that movement is each week. If we went back in that week commencing March 29th, put £10,000 in there, got movement in there, the income in there, and that feeds through into the balance. So this is live, so you can go back. What if that was received in a £5,000 and a £5,000, and that meant you could pay this supplier. So you can play all sorts of different scenarios with this, and then see how it looks on the graph, to make sure you can stay within whatever facilities that you have with the bank. So that's a quick overview in terms of how to set the forecast up. On the introduction sheet, put your company name. You can see there that's changed to do not change. We've got some data in there, so you can't change that back from weekly to monthly, but on our initial setup, pick weekly or monthly. We put the start date in. We then went back, dropped down these dates, which went from done because they were in the past, current and forecast. When we drop those down to add the dates to the forecast, that automatically populates those periods. We put the headings in for the different customers or types of receipts, but also the suppliers and different payment types. So you might have your rates or whatever it might be in here. Put the numbers in, those feed through from an opening balance, your movement and your closing balance. Set up any direct debits that you have. Easiest way of doing this is pick up a bank statement and run through your direct debits, or if you've got your online banking, often they have a direct debit section in there. Just run through those. Anywhere the amounts vary significantly, put it on the estimates direct. If it only varies by a few pounds each month, or where it's fairly trivial, you needn't put those in there. I'd always recommend putting a contingency line in here to pick up amounts that aren't elsewhere, and then that feeds through into your reports. So that's how to set it up. So let's look at a sheet that's already been completed. So as you can see on here, we've now got a new colour on called Replace. Because what's happened, we've completed the forecasts, which are all the green, got to the end of it, and now started again on the left hand side. It's gone to newest, which is the latest one, and one that's gone the orangey colour, which is Replace. Because what's happened, we're just constantly scrolling around now. So if I drop the week down, it's gone from 17th of May, the next week is the 24th. So change that, everything's now gone blue, and the following one's gone the orangey colour. What I'm doing now is taking everything out of there, with highlighting it and pressing delete. In the blue cells, and now entering what the forecast numbers are. So for customer 1, I might be putting £5,000 in there. For the 24th of May, customer 3, £2,000, etc. And the weekly wages for their £2,000. So it's just constantly scrolling round. Where that's showing on the reports now, the green is the actuals, and it's added on week commencing the 24th of May onto the end of it. Green line being it's updated the starting point of it with the actuals. The darker blue line is the original forecast. The lighter blue line with the greens is where that's been updated with the actuals. So the actual starting point is slightly better than we originally thought. So which is being mirrored by week commencing the 24th of May. We think we'll start with just over £25,000. So if we go down to the bottom here, we've got an opening balance of £25,600. So that's the way it's been rolled around. So for the recurring direct debits, if we have any that have finished, we can put any end dates in here as we kind of using this as a live model. Any new ones that start, we can add those in. So we're just constantly just using it as a live model, and then looking at this report. Predominantly the light blue line is where we think the opening balance is going to be each week, and going back to the estimates, changing some of the might be looking at the supplier payments, how we could smooth those. Might need to talk to suppliers about phasing some of these, looking at the receipts that are coming in, and just got going around changing these dates. With the blue where it says newest, that's the last week in the forecast each time, and putting actuals in for anything that says done. So that's the actual opening balance for that week. So that's how to use the compass sheet rolling cash flow forecast. I hope it's really useful to you, give you some confidence. Yeah, and hope you make a real success of it. Okay, thank you very much. I'm Steve Carroll, and yeah, hope you enjoy it. Okay, thanks. Bye.